Welcome to Gin Clear Aviation. My name is Dan. I've always been fascinated by autogyros, and when my friend Marwan invited me down to have a ride in his, I had to jump at the chance. So let's go and see what the Cavalon is all about. So I'd like to introduce you to my good friend Marwan, who owns this lovely Cavalon. Good morning, Marwan. How are you doing?
Good morning, Dan. Good to see you.
Could you tell me the very basics of where this plane comes from and who makes it, etc.?
The Cavalon is made in Germany by a company called Rotor, and basically it's a cross between a fixed wing and a helicopter.
That's fantastic. So could you just explain a few more basics about an Autogyro?
Yeah, this Cavalon is side-by-side, two-seater, and is propelled by Rotax 914, 115 horsepower.
Okay, and what sort of speed do you get in the cruise on this one?
You cruise between 65 and 100 miles an hour.
Let's start by going over the basics of autogyros. The word autogyro comes from the Greek word meaning self-turning. The autogyro uses an unpowered rotor in free rotation to develop lift. The Autogyro's unpowered rotor disc must have air flowing upwards through it to make it rotate. Forward thrust is generated by an engine-driven propeller. The downward component of the total aerodynamic reaction of the rotor gives lift. The forward thrust is generated by a powered propeller, usually in the pusher configuration. The free spinning blades turn by auto-rotation, with the rotor blades angled so they not only give lift, but the angle of the blades also causes the lift to accelerate the blade's rotation rate until the rotor turns at a stable speed with the drag force and the thrust force in balance. The autogyro must be moving forward in comparison to the surrounding airflow to force air through the overhead rotor. Pitch control is achieved by tilting the rotor fore and aft, and roll control by tilting the rotor laterally. The rudder provides yaw control. A few facts and figures about the Cavalon. Useful load is approximately 608 pounds or 275 kilograms. The takeoff distance is 110 meters and 260 meters to clear 45 feet altitude. The climb rate is 1,300 feet per minute. Maximum range is around 370 miles. VNE is 120 miles per hour. And the fuel capacity is 100 litres. So Marwan, can we do the sort of first check of the morning and you can explain a little bit about the plane then?
Sure. The first thing we do is obviously go around the aircraft. It's been parked in the hangar, so we want to make sure that it's not been dented by somebody moving another aircraft or something, just to ensure that the integrity of the airframe. So we just have a walk around the aircraft. And then we check the prop again to check if there's any issues there. Just looks perfect. This is an Ivo prop, so it's adjustable in the in-flight adjustable. We'll check the tires while we're here. Good. And then we got the pressure sensors for the differential pressure. Again, pressure, no obstruction there. Normally we have this covered overnight. We check the pre-rotator mechanism, and then we check the teeter bolt over there, because that's basically what's holding the rotor. With a Rotax engine, you have to ensure the oil is in the chamber first flight in the morning, or your first flight of the day. So the oil is perfect here. We ensure that the magnetos are off, and then we turn the prop anti-clockwise until the engine burps, so it gets all the air out. Oh, there it is. There you go.
And so that burp means what exactly?
Well, the oil is obviously settled down at the bottom, so
Yeah.
what tends to happen is you move in the air through the pump manually, ensuring that the oil is in the engine chamber so that you don't run it with low oil.
Perfect, so everything's lubricated.
Sure. You only do this once in a day, you know, and, first flight. And then, again, we normally take that one off. We check all the connections, the spark plugs. We look for any loose wires. Got engine dampers. We just ensure there's no cracks or dry rubber in there. The aircraft's just been maintained about a month ago, so it's all good, but still we do check. All good.
As they say, the problems often happen after maintenance, don't they? So you have to double check.
Which did to me. I had an engine failure once, straight after the maintenance.
Really?
Yes, that was at Popham.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
another story. Yes.
Concentrate the mind. Well, but that's an interesting point, though, isn't it? That you do read that most engine failures happen after maintenance.
Correct. Yes, that's
which is
100%
fascinating,
right.
isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it is really important after maintenance to double check, do ground runs, maybe just do a circuit.
Stay close to the airfield, I would say. I tend to, I get a bit more nervous now after the inspection. I tend to do circuits, high level, and then more or less hug the runway just in case something happens, then you know you can land there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all good here. I'll just get the ladder and just inspect the lubrication there and just check there's no... Normally we also clean the rotors, because if you've got some dirt on there, it tends to affect the balance and you actually feel the vibration on there. So yeah, this gets greased every so often. There's also some nibbles here that you'll see where it gets greased every well, about 20 hours of flight through there. And obviously you're looking to see if there's any damage to any of the gears here, the teeth on there, because that's the pre-rotator. So that's the hydraulic clutch engages here, and then currently I've got the brakes on. You can see it touching there. Yeah, so that comes up, engages with this gear here, and that's when you do the pre-rotation, before you take off. So So good. And this is the important part here as well. You make sure the pins are all in place. Yeah, good. Not a lot to check there. We tend to check also the rotors if there's any nicks or anything on it.
And I also read that there's no frame to the Cavalon. It's a monocoque design.
It is. With the Cavalon it is, you're right.
So
Yes.
it's very lightweight but very strong. So is it fiberglass?
It's everything on this aircraft is carbon fibre. All the checks are done now, Dan. Would you like to go for a flight?
Absolutely, let's go.
Oh, well done. Let's go. So, a rotor tie check. Obviously, we normally keep the rotor tie on. So that's off. Wheel brakes on. Door secure. Yours is secure. I'll close mine in a minute. Pending which direction. Harness. You got your harness on?
I do. Yep. Thank you.
Alright. Stick. So on takeoff, this is the extent of how far the stick. On takeoff, you need to put your hands here. So that hand will have to come here.
Yep.
Because when you see this goes back all the way.
Got you.
Okay. And you don't want to have your arm or obstruct the takeoff. I'll remind you again if you forget.
Yep.
Okay, pedals, we just make sure the wires are not disconnected, so I just feel if there's any pressure on it, which there is. So that controls the rudder and the wheel on the ground, yeah? Throttle, 3. Okay, breakers are all in. Okay, fuel cocker's open, that's there. Clear prop. We run the engines for 5 seconds.
Yep.
Before we put the magnetors on. So just initially, and then when we look at the oil basically, and then as soon as the pressure builds up, we put the magnetors on. And now what we're watching is for the temperature on the as soon as it gets above the 50 degrees, which is really because it's quite warm at the moment. I mean, in the winter that will be below 50, and you don't want to really take off below 50. Okay, so all good here. So at the moment I've got the choke on, so I'll just release the choke gradually. Okay, we've set the altimeter. So as we taxi, we check the compass. Yeah.
Okay.
And the brakes. So initially the brakes working fine. And as we turn towards the runway, we look at the compass just to make sure. So our pre-takeoff checks. Okay. Check the IVO prop.
What does that do?
So this is an adjustable in-flight prop at the back.
Okay.
So basically, it's a fine and coarse. It helps you take off shorter runways and saves on fuel. Pump on. That's the second pump. Lights on. Check choke is off. It's spring loaded, but we check it anyway. Yeah. Doors locked.
Doors locked, yeah.
Any warning lights? That would come up here if there's any low fuel, oil pressure, generator, low voltage, fan when it kicks off, that comes up if it gets hot. And if we have any fire, or that would come up. So all in the all off, which is good. So no warning lights. We'll put the transponder to ACS. check prop is fine again. And we switch to flight. And what we do initially is make sure you got the brakes.
Right, so the front bit's the brake.
Yes, and that's the throttle.
Okay.
Okay, and the reason you put the brakes on and hold them carefully is you are generating thrust.
Yeah.
And the same thrust that transferred to use as for the pre-rotator with the clutch, at the same time is actually exerting forward thrust.
Okay, so you got the rotax pushing you forward.
Correct.
But you're using that energy as well to turn
to turn the rotor.
Pre-turn the rotor. So you're holding on the brakes basically.
Correct.
Got
Correct.
it.
So literally what you're doing is, and you will feel if I take the brake, the aircraft will go straight away.
So then you're looking for a certain rotation on the main rotors, aren't you?
Correct. Which is in here. So we'll be looking to 220 to get to 220.
And at 220, you release.
We will release the pre-rotator.
The pre-rotator.
Stick goes back.
Yeah.
And then effectively it's like a sail, and you're capturing the wind to increase the rotor speed, and you could monitor it there. It should go to about 300, just over 300.
On the run forward.
As soon as it becomes a fixed wing, or a fixed disc, as a wing, then you will feel the pressure like a sail, and then you bring the nose down a bit, more or less wheel balance, so that you can increase the speed of the aircraft. You want to get to about 60-65 miles before you can take off.
Okay, that's
All right.
okay. So there's a sequence of events, a bit balletic.
So we start the pre-rotation. It's restricted button here.
Have a look there. Show me that button again.
Okay, there.
Okay, so.
Okay, so I'm pressing here.
Pressing that.
So it's pre-rotating. So as soon as you saw on there on the, it's currently at about 100. So we'll start feeding in the power. That's the engine power. You can understand or appreciate if it's muddy and you are putting on pressure here, the aircraft can skid.
So you're increasing the throttle now.
We are at 200 RPM on the rotor.
Yeah.
We're waiting to get to 220. Okay? 220. 1, pre-rotator off. 2, stick back, mind your hands. 3, brakes off. Feeding in power gently just to make sure rotor is stable. We got build up. Full power, it's a bit rough. Okay.
Gotcha.
We're off the ground. Bring the nose down, building up the speed. You see we've taken most of the runway, haven't we?
We have, yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, no, because I was always under the assumption that these things took off like a helicopter.
No.
But they don't. They take off like a plane. They land like a helicopter.
True. But the good thing is, if last minute you feel that you can't make it, you literally stop within 10 meters. So, you know, as you're looking,
by
you could
power
literally
off,
stop,
stick back.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a massive brake there, haven't you, really?
You don't actually push on the brake. Yeah, it's just
that, the main rotor will brake for you.
So at the moment we're at boost power. At 500 feet above the level we were at, we'll take boost off, which is about now.
So on that takeoff, there's obviously, as you say, there's a transition, isn't there? So you've got the clutch in, the rotors are turning, and when you get to how many RPM on the rotors?
Well, at the moment the rotor is about, it will go above 300. Now it's just under 400 RPM.
Okay.
Yeah.
But on the ground, when you're starting up.
It's up to 220. That's the pre-rotation.
Okay.
And once you get to 220, you take the brakes off. You proceed with your takeoff, and then you will feel the pressure. It's like a sail.
Yeah.
As soon as the transition of the rotor becomes a disc, then that's the point of which you will adjust your angle of attack so that you can increase your speed.
That's fascinating. So different to fixed-wing aircraft. It's such a different skill, isn't it? It is. If you're a fixed-wing pilot, how many hours on this do you think you would need before you were signed off on an Autogyro?
Probably do it in 25 average.
Yeah.
But it varies from one person to the other. You know, I mean, I probably took longer when I first. If you have it spaced out.
Yeah.
Like I did, I was doing like 1 hour a month or every couple of weeks.
And you don't need any special licenses. If you've got your PPL, it's just a case of a transition.
I believe, no, it's a separate one. It's a gyrocopter license.
Right, so that's all part of the 25 hours type of thing. Yeah.
It's 45 for newcomers to the
from ab initio,
yeah.
It's an amazing view, though, isn't it, at the sides, with no wings or obstructions.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's better visibility, yes.
I mean, this part of the United Kingdom, the southwest, in a lovely summer's day like this, is just sensational, isn't it?
It sure is, yeah.
So now, just because obviously I'm a fixed-wing pilot, the rotor blades that are going around here, they are just going around because the air's passing through them from the underneath.
They are free rotation, yes.
Yeah. So there's no power to them, whatever.
Not at all. They're always in auto rotation.
So we're being pushed by the prop on the good old Rotax in the back with a pusher prop. And so presumably the more power you put into the pusher prop, the faster you go. But also...
Correct. That controls also your height.
Yeah. But you'll also increase lift, yeah, because...
Correct.
But will the rotation of the main prop, I call it, or the gyro, will that increase as well? So the more power you put in, will it go faster and faster?
I mean, it's not going to go to 500. It will continue to be around the 400 mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty stable. I mean, once you get it in trim, it flies itself.
Yeah.
And this one, the Cavalon, as opposed to, it's got trim also on the horizon.
Yeah.
So you can literally trim it for the horizon and for the speed.
So a bit like a helicopter, there is a slight vibration, isn't there?
There is indeed, yes, because it's directly coupled to the rotor.
Because I suppose, like a helicopter, one of the rotors is always going forward and one going back. So one is creating more lift than the other, isn't it?
That's 100% right, yes.
But I read that the main difference between a helicopter and an autogyro is in a helicopter, the wind goes from the top through to the bottom because it's being sucked down. Whereas an autogyro, the wind's going from the bottom through the rotors to the top as it's flowing through. No, it's a very comfortable cockpit, isn't it? I mean, it really is, lots of space. And
there is, you've got a bit of space behind the seats as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm very impressed. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's a great way to travel.
Yeah.
I think if you haven't got a long way to go and you're not in a rush, this would be the perfect way to do it. So in a standard cruise, you're cruising at about, what, 70 miles an hour?
Yeah, about 70 miles an hour. I was on doing traffic, Gyro Golf, Charlie Lima, laid downwind for runway 27. Wasn't in traffic, Gyro Golf, Charlie Lima, final for runway 27. So we are about 500 feet now. What I'll do is I'll take the power off and then just maintain the speed at 65, which you can see the nose dropped. Yeah?
Yeah.
It comes down pretty quick. So now we are
that was a quick landing, wasn't it?
Yes, doesn't need much distance.
Yeah, incredible. Because to the rotors, they just slow down and stop when they want.
Yeah, I tend to, you can use a brake.
Okay, there's a brake, okay.
And then you can see the pressure there.
Ah, okay.
So as the pressure increases, that will start slowing, and then it will stop. It's got like brake pads, like a bicycle, brake pads. That was very kind of Marwin to take me up in his Cavalon Autogyro this morning. What an amazing experience. If you'd like to learn more about the Cavalon, then do visit their website, or if you'd like to learn how to fly an Autogyro, there are many schools around the UK that could help you, plus there's a brilliant one at Popham Airfield. To help me build my channel, if you could like and subscribe below, I'd very much appreciate it. Until next time, this is Dan from Gin Clear Aviation.